Hello everyone, my name is David Lopez and I'm with MonoFit Training Systems. I'm making this video for people who are new to Jiu-Jitsu, like white and blue belts that are 50 or older, or for people who are 50 and older and have not started Jiu-Jitsu but are wondering if they should. And the reason I'm making this is mainly because a lot of people will either never start or start and then injuries will plague them and they'll quit. So to get little qualifications as to who I am and why my perspective I think should be put out there is I'm 54 years old. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 8 years now. I'm a blue belt. And that's kind of the reason why I bring this up, is because I have been hurt quite a bit, and I have setbacks just like anybody else might have, whether it's jiu-jitsu or in life. But like this finger here, still swollen. I hurt that last May. This finger here, not swollen, but it's still kind of bent, funky. And that happened like 4 years ago, maybe 3. But what I'm getting at is I'm still in the fight. I'm still doing it. Recently, I had injury where it's either a groin pull or it's a hernia. But again, I'm still going to keep doing it. I'm not planning on quitting. I'm not planning on giving up. I'm just planning on getting better. So there's a handful of things for those of you who are blue belts and below or haven't done jiu-jitsu at all that I want to really get these points across for people like you, because these things are super important. And if you neglect these things when you start your jiu-jitsu journey or are already in it, if you don't do these things, you're going to run into lots of problems. Okay. So first of all, if you decide you're going to do jiu-jitsu and the reason is to get in shape, we're going to use that as one of your reasons. Aside from the self-defense element, aside from maybe you used to wrestle in high school or college, you want to get back into some sort of grappling, besides all that, if you are trying to do it to get in shape, I cannot say this enough or express this enough. You have to weight train on top of doing your jiu-jitsu. And there's a couple of very good reasons. Number one is when you are doing jiu-jitsu, and also forgive the background noise. Normally on a weekend, it's today is March 9th, 2024. And it's usually completely empty in the area where my gym is. And there's some party going on, and in the background you can hear Bobby Brown singing. So anyway, if you go to jiu-jitsu and you're rolling and you're new or you've been doing it a while, there's a consequence to not being that good. There's a consequence to executing moves that don't go your way, or maybe they do, but either way we get hurt, right? Now, yes, you're going to get better at jiu-jitsu. Yes, you're going to get a little bit stronger. Yes, you're going to get decent cardio. There's going to be all these things that happen that are great. However, there is a consequence for doing things wrong in jiu-jitsu, and there's consequences for even doing them right, and soreness and different things like that. You cannot jiu-jitsu your way up a hill. You cannot jiu-jitsu over a wall. You cannot jiu-jitsu somebody that you're trying to drag out of your house because there's a fire and they're passed out. You can't jiu-jitsu camping or moving or putting something in an attic. You have to be physically strong. You have to be mobile. So don't make the mistake of thinking that jiu-jitsu is going to be the end-all be-all of your fitness journey, because it simply is not the case. If you're doing rows, push-ups, bench pressing, squatting, lunging, all these things that are very multiple joint exercise driven moves that directly relate to jiu-jitsu, if you do those, then you're going to find that you're going to be just a little bit more or you're going to be better equipped for pulling on people's gis, for pulling on their necks or their arms, whatever it is, whether you're doing gi or no gi. It is super important that you are lifting weights. We're talking about doing kettlebell movements, barbell movements, or even if it was a simple, kettlebell and calisthenics only. A lot of people talk about like prison workouts where you're doing push-ups, burpees, all that stuff. Do that. If you're doing 2 or 3 days of jiu-jitsu a week, then fill in the other 2 or 3 days of the week with weight training, resistance training, calisthenics. If you want to jump rope or run or anything like that, do it. But one of the things that is crucial is lifting weights. You got to lift weights. You got to find a plan that works. You got to find people that you want to work out with or follow along with. But either way, it cannot be neglected. You cannot skip this. You have to lift weights. It does great things for your joints, and great things for muscle memory, great things for your neuromuscular connection. And these things, again, if all you're doing is going to jiu-jitsu 2 or 3 days a week or more, and you're not getting something where you can make definitive results, like, you know, if you can do 10 push-ups today and that's all you can do, and you work your way on push-ups, you can eventually do 15 or 20. If you can't do pull-ups now, you work on a pull-up assist machine or use bands, and you get better and better. There's a way to gauge if you're improving. With jiu-jitsu, it's all relative to the person you're rolling with. It's relative to how you feel that day, if you're nursing any injuries and all these other things. So I'll end with that. Make sure you're lifting weights. Okay, so number 2 is, if you are overweight, start focusing on weight loss. It is very taxing already as a sport to do jiu-jitsu. If you're carrying around 40 or 50 extra pounds and doing jiu-jitsu, it's not going to be that fun to move around. I'm 54 years old. I started jiu-jitsu at 46 roughly, so maybe I'm almost at 9 years doing this. I'm 5'6" and I weigh 165 pounds, and I'm a personal trainer. It's my job to be fit. It's my job to move around, and I still get injured, right? So in spite of all my movement, I still manage to get hurt. If I'm carrying around 40 or 50 extra pounds, not only am I going to get hurt with, I can't move my knees the way I used to anyway because I'm 50 plus. So now I throw on all this weight and I'm, somebody's trying to take me down. I may not have the familiarity of how to break fall, how to fall properly, plus all the weight. I could get hurt really bad. I could mess my knee up really bad. I can hurt my lower back really bad. Plus my carrying all that weight, my heart, my lungs, they're just going to get their butts kicked. And I don't want that, right? So if you are out there, man or woman, you weigh an extra 40, 50 pounds or more, and you're starting to do jiu-jitsu, hats off to you. Great decision. I hope your journey never ends. However, get on board with losing some weight. If you're like 10 pounds overweight or a little bit more than that, and you start adding jiu-jitsu in, you're probably going to lose that in a few months just by the activity being so different and all the sweating that happens, and especially if you're doing it frequently, like 3 or 4 times a week. But if you are carrying around a lot of extra weight, you need to get on board with losing that weight, because it's only going to improve your experience, but it's also going to reduce your risk of injury. We had a little unexpected visit there. Somebody walked in, kind of random. So anyway, we're back. So yeah, it's going to reduce your risk of injury, and it's going to just improve your overall experience. So that's my piece on that. If you have some weight to lose, you need to work really hard and fast to get it off of you. And also, I'll bring this up. I've gone to classes where men who were 40 pounds or more overweight, white and blue belts. And so some of these blue belts were, and there's been a few of them, they were overweight. And I don't know if they were in shape and then they quit jiu-jitsu for a minute and then they came back and now they're trying to get back at it. But one of the things that happens with the men and women who I've seen who are white belts, who are very overweight, and blue belts, is that they're trying to keep up with the warm-ups. And so they're trying to run around in circles or do all the other warm-ups. And what happens is they get discouraged because they can't. And so my advice to you is, if you have excessive weight and you go to a workout or go to a class and they're running around the mats and they're getting warmed up, you need to have the confidence, maturity, and the wisdom to go up to the black belt or whoever's instructing that class, the professor, and say, look, if I'm not going to be able to run around and keep up with these people, I'll end up tripping, or I'm just not going to be able to do it. I'm going to get really gassed. Is it okay if I just walk around while they're running, or walk back and forth in the back here while everybody's doing that, and then I'll fall in line with the rest of the warm-up, but I just can't do this right now. hopefully they say yes. Hopefully you picked a spot where, that's okay. And maybe it's something that if you're signing up, you talk to the person who's signing you up and you ask for a conversation with the people who are being the coaches, instructors, the professor, and let them know, hey, I'm really, really out of shape. And, here's kind of what how I'd like to approach this, because I've seen people quit and they've told me this. I quit because I can't even do the warm up. Now, that person is never going back to jiu-jitsu. I mean, I've never seen anybody leave jiu-jitsu overweight, go and lose the weight, and then come back. Oh, I'm fit now. I'm going to start doing jiu-jitsu again. It doesn't happen that way. If you're not going to stay in the mix and try, but be smart about it, you're probably going to quit and never come back. So make sure that you have that mindset. Now, for those of you, again, 50 plus years old, maybe you wrestled, maybe you didn't. Maybe you're physically strong, maybe you're not. But once you start getting some confidence, don't automatically start picking the super athletic blue belts, purple belts and up, or the crazy, fast, young white belts either to roll with. You need to go up to a blue belt that looks like they might have some gray hair, a blue belt that looks a little bit older. You start listening, pay attention, meet people, say hi, get to know some people. And some of these people are going to be in their late 30s, their 40s, and their 50s and older, especially some of the older black belts. You need to be rolling with those blue, purple, and up belts. You do not need to be rolling in the beginning with fellow white belts who are as young as your kids. They're 20, 21, 22. They're going to be trying to tear your head off. They're not that mature. They're not going to be trying to take care of you unless they have a parent that also does jiu-jitsu and they understand. But you got to stay in your lane and work yourself up. A lot of people get hurt when they're trying to, okay, well, I got the hang of this. I've been doing this for 6 months. So I'm going to go roll with that shredded, blue belt over there that competes every quarter. It's not going to go well. That person probably is going to try to submit you a million times. They're probably going to succeed. You're going to get discouraged, but worse than that, you could get hurt. Now, if over the 3 or 4 months time period, you've developed a friendship with one of these blue belts or other belts, and they're like, hey, I'll match your energy, I'll match your speed, I'll match your effort. I don't want anybody getting hurt, and I don't want you to, not come back. So let's just go with the flow here, and, I'll match your energy. There's people like that exist, but again, most of them aren't in their 20s. They're usually my age. Whenever I see a new white belt that looks a little bit scared, or they're very apprehensive to roll with anybody, it doesn't matter how old they are, how young they are, I'll walk up to them, I'll say, hey, how long have you been doing this? They're like, about a month. Okay, so you've come to 8 classes? Yes, all right. Well, I'll roll with you, but, we'll just go with the flow. Don't even really try for submissions. Let's just kind of take it easy, match my energy, don't get too crazy, and, we'll be good. And they're like, yeah, sure. So we'll go over some stuff and we'll roll, and, depending on if they had a wrestling background or not will depend on how intense that session is, or that roll is, I should say. But be very open to communicating with people, because you want to stay there, you want to stay healthy, you don't want to get hurt, and you don't want to get discouraged. So make sure you're kind of staying in your lane. Make sure that you're not trying to be a teenager again, because you're not. And don't be trying to keep up with people that are obviously, way better than you. Okay? So I guess the last thing that I'll talk about is the element of having fun, or kind of embracing jiu-jitsu. And what I mean by that is go in there a little bit early. We all have schedules that are challenging, but don't try to get there on time all the time. Try to get there 15, 20, or even 30 minutes earlier, because you're going to be there probably first, but you're going to be there as other people arrive. You start talking to people. They get to know you a little bit. You start to get to know their story, how long they've been doing it. And then what happens is you start to develop a team, if you will, of people who you kind of know, trust, you get to know a little bit, and they kind of know your story. And again, when you're rolling with them, they're advocating for you. They're helping you. Yeah, you might get submitted, but then afterwards they might tell you, okay, this is why you got caught in that. This is This is how I got you. And then they're opening up the gates for learning. Because a lot of times you can go to class after class after class, and if you're not super invested in your own learning, you could find yourself learning, being exposed to new techniques a lot, but never really understanding which ones work for you. You know, some people, for example, my limbs are relative to my height. I don't have a long torso. I don't have super short legs. I don't have long legs. I'm 5'6", so I have what I have. But then there's other people out there that might have a short torso, and so they have longer legs, and or they're really tall and lanky, or they're jacked and they're stocky and they're like 6 feet tall. Every body type offers its own advantages and disadvantages. So you want to be absorbing as much information as you can when you can. And sometimes that's going to be before class. And if you're good for 2, 3, 4 rolls and now you're tired and you don't have to be anywhere, then hang around, sit down on the mats, talk to some of those guys that have been there for a while, those gals that have been there for a while, and kind of get some information. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If they're willing to sit there and talk to you, then they're willing to help. I've never, some people, not everybody likes to talk, not everybody's real social at jiu-jitsu, but I would say 9 out of 10 people are. You just want to find your tribe, find your people, and have fun and really just explore the different things that jiu-jitsu can bring you. But I don't want to get too long here with what I'm saying, too long-winded, but I just think it's super important that for people who are 50 and older to stay in the game, to stay long enough to get your black belt, to stay long enough to maybe open up your own academy. You want to make sure that you're staying healthy, that you have the right outlook, and that you really learn to absorb the lifestyle. So this is not the last video I'll make. I'm going to be trying to make a lot of these based on my different experiences. I hope you like it, and we'll see you at the next video. Take care.